This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 905 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from thehorse.com's weekly horse health report on horses in the morning. The Hit'em crew is joined by the horse.com digital editor, Christy West, and Dr. Jones, with some advice on wrapping two very tough-to-get-right areas, Hooves and Hocks. And we'll get right to it after this message from statelinetack.com. When the weather forecast calls for wind, rain, bone-chilling temperatures, or snow, look no further than statelinetack.com to make sure your barn time is warm, dry, and stylish. Statelinetack.com has jackets and vests that keep you warm and dry from afternoon hacks in New England to break of dawn schooling sessions in Wellington. They also carry a wide selection of toasty warm breeches for schooling ring or show ring. They even have waterproof breeches for those days when Mother Nature is at her worst. And StatelineTack.com knows there's nothing more satisfying than having warm, dry feet at the barn, so they have beautiful winter boots for showing, weather-busting paddock boots for on the horse or off, and lots of rubber boots for mucking about. Surf over to StatelineTack.com today and choose from your favorite brands like Ariat, Debonair, Dublin, Mountain Horse, Carrots, Tough Rider, and many, many more. StatelineTack.com.
Very good. Now, as far as wrapping the hock, there's a particular consideration with that as well, right?
Yeah, it's like doing the ankle in the human. It's exactly like doing an ankle in a human. It's a figure eight. You want to keep the point of the hock open in the back. That tends to be an area, of course, they're going to flex the hock area, but that tends to be an area that will get rubbed sore a lot quicker. It almost happens in 24 or 48 hours. So you want to make sure that that area is opened up so they don't get hock sores over the back side of it. Now, granted, if the wound is on the back of the hock, please seek instruction from a veterinary technician or a veterinarian on how you're going to have to wrap that, and you'll probably have to incorporate that hock area into a bandage, but you're probably going to put some padding around it.
Right. And one other thing about wrapping a hock, especially, I think a lot of horses aren't used to having that area wrapped, and you want to be sure that you're staying pretty close to the horse so you don't get kicked while you're messing around with that hock.
Absolutely,
Right.
and that goes with any wraps of any legs. I mean, there are some young babies we've had to wrap their front legs, and they've never even been touched, not even by a farrier. And that becomes difficult, and you may get a little hoof in the face, so you need to be very, very careful. Again, then one key that you need to keep in mind is horses stand on their diagonals, so they'll stand on their right front and their left hind comfortably, or their left front and their right hind. So if you're wrapping a hind limb, pick up the foot on the same side as that limb, and they should stand on it. There are some tricky ones out there who will balance on their whole right side and try to kick you with their left side, or their whole left side and try to kick you with the right side. But if you pull up the front leg of that same hind limb that you want down, they'll usually stand on the leg a lot better. Same thing on the front leg. You just pull up the opposite front leg, and they'll usually stand on it. Now, there have been a few that rear up, use your back, things like that, but you need to incorporate somebody else's help on those tricky horses.
That's a great tip. And, Aaron, you wanted to mention as well a couple of tips on wrapping a hoof if you need to do that.
Yeah, the hoof it's always forgotten, I hate to say, when it comes to wrapping, because the leg always has the wounds and stuff. But we'll see almost as many hoof injury incidences as we do leg injuries, maybe a little less. But in general, the hoof is very confusing for people to wrap. And I'll find that when they evolve off part of the wall, like they got hooked in the fence, they pulled back and it hooked the wall and peeled the wall back of the foot, you still want to try to maintain that wall in a good position until you get a veterinarian out there or farrier or both to address the situation that just occurred. I tend to pick the foot up and I cradle the bottom of the foot with a large piece of cotton roll and that's that roll cotton that you can find at the feed store or the veterinarians have. Or you can even use one of your quilts if you're out on a trail ride and all you have is quilts for your leg wraps. You can put your quilt on the bottom of the foot, of course clean it off so you don't get it too dirty. And you put the quilt on the bottom of the hoof and wrap the edges up around the sides of the hoof wall. Start your vet wrap around the edge of the hoof wall itself, going up and then down underneath to incorporate like a boot that looks almost like the hoof. And you can really get a nice snug vet wrap on any kind of cotton roll or quilt. The Nobos you can't. Those things are like putting a pillow on the bottom and trying to wrap it up to the foot. But the smaller cotton quilts, you could get them to conform to the hoof wall a lot better, and then you put your vet wrap around it. On top of that, it's highly recommended you put duct tape because the horse will tear through the cotton roll or your quilt and through the vet wrap, and then your bandage is not doing its job of protecting the wounds in that area. The other asset to that is if you have a horse that's not very good about soaking its foot for abscesses, you can make a great little boot out of duct tape and vet wrap and cotton quilt, which is darn cheap, to soak the foot all day, and you're not struggling with them knocking over a bucket or jumping backwards or whatever the reason is that they won't soak their foot. They can soak their foot all day long in Epsom salts and water by pouring it into the backside of the heel bulb area, and the whole cotton roll soaks up the Epsom salts and water and soaks the bottom of the foot for an abscess while the duct tape holds the water in. And this is the secret that I learned from veterinarians when I was young, and I took it with me in life, is the best thing to do is you lay out your duct tape, and you pull off about 12-inch strips, and you overlap them by, I don't know, a couple millimeters so they connect to each other, laying sticky side up on a table or however you want to do it. And you put 4 of them in a row, and then you do another set with 4 in a row. Then you put them on your pants leg. I have to say pants leg because I had a client do this in shorts and put it on her actual leg. You stick the sticky side onto the pants leg of your pants, one on one leg, one on the other, and you got 4 strips together, 4 strips together. You pick up the horse's foot, you take off the old bandage, you clean it out, you put your cotton on, you wrap it with vet wrap, and then you take 4 of those stickies and you go from front to back. 4 of those stickies going from inside to outside, so you make like a red cross on the bottom. You wrap the edges up, and then you continue to secure it in place with 1 or 2 more wraps of the duct tape. You know how fast you can get that done once you get practice on it? Is very quickly on a baby that's never had their feet up, on a kicking back leg of a horse, if you have somebody else helping you out. It's amazing how fast you can get that on once you get a process. And you don't even have to put the vet wrap on if you get very quick. You can just put the cotton on and put the duct tape right on.
And that just about takes care of it. To listen to more tips from thehorse.com, just go to horsetipdaily.com and look for the experts drop-down menu on the left. If you love listening to the Horses in the Morning crew putting in their 2 cents on all things horse, you can tune in every weekday at horsesinthemorning.com for fascinating interviews, news stories from around the world, clever contests, and general horsey hijinks. And now you can have all of the Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go with our new free app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It's free. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they really do make these podcasts possible. This podcast has been brought to you through the generous support of Statelinetack.com. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.